Greetings, fam. Every now and then, and I should say more often than not, one of you touches my heart. And today, today's video is actually due to that very fact. I have a subscriber, I won't say her tag, but her name is Nadia. And she found me on Facebook. And so she started engaging me in conversation. She wanted to ask me some questions. And so I told her, I says, you know what, I'm not on Facebook that often, but here's my email. Send your questions there. So she sent me an email with a few questions and I answered them. And then she sent me another email with more questions. And because I'm not always feeling up to par, I got a little annoyed with her and I responded, please, don't expect me to keep answering all these questions because I'm busy, but I'm also not feeling well. And so I'm not always up to, answering a lot of questions. And they were questions about things that I had covered in other videos. And so then I got doubly annoyed and I said, I have videos on this topic. It didn't dawn on me that when you have over 300 videos, someone else may not have the time to go flipping through the videos and looking for the things that you've already mentioned. And I felt very bad about it, but I felt like, you know what, I have to say this because she doesn't understand that, I'm sick and I'm cranky and I don't always want to talk to people. If I do a video, I feel like my job is done. And the Lord had to shake me and remind me that this is why I'm called to do this, that I don't have a choice in the matter. I put myself out there. People are going to ask me questions and I have to answer them because the Bible clearly says, do not withhold knowledge from them which you have to give. And I could be quoting that a little incorrectly, but it does indeed say that we are not to be selfish in our gifts, that if the Lord gives us knowledge and things that we are to share them. But what really struck me about this beautiful sister is that not only did she not respond negatively to my comment, which bordered on crappy because it was not nice to say, I don't want to answer your questions because I'm cranky. And I think I even said that. I think I even said I was cranky and irritable. But but not only did she not respond that way, the sister sent me a donation for my medicine. And I thought, wow, wow, it brought tears to my eyes. And even now saying it, I actually feel like I want to cry because it was not the response that I expected. I'm so used to people cursing me out. I think I told you before, some guy told me off because I didn't answer his question, and then he said he was blocking me and all kinds of stuff. And I felt a little bad about that, but I also felt justified that I didn't have to answer his questions. So now I've been humbled, and as a result of that, I plan to answer not just her question, but the question a lot of you might have to have on your hearts, which is what to do in a disaster, how to prepare and plan for a disaster. So I put together this video and I am dedicating it to Nadia. This is what you do and how you prepare for a disaster. As with everything in the realm of disaster preparedness, it's best to start and stick with the simplest concepts. We already know the basic necessities of almost any survival situation includes fire, water, food, shelter, and security. In this video, I will cover these things. Water. This is one of the areas where many people miscalculate, and it's really one of the simplest and most crucial needs. My advice is to tackle the issue of water before you try to take on anything else. because it's so easy to take care of and it doesn't require a lot of financial investment. The biggest mistake that most people make is that they woefully underestimate the amount of water that they will need because they don't take into consideration exactly how much and how many things we use water for. Now, there's water to drink, of course, and I'm one of those people, I'm obsessed with having water to drink. So I've got cases and cases of bottled water here at my house that I save, and I drink also, but I also make sure that I have enough in the eventuality that there is a need for me to have water and I won't be able to get it. So I already have it. It doesn't take that much room or money to plan. As an additional backup water plan, you should also invest in at least one water filtration system. So on the off chance that there is no bottled water available, you have a filtration system in which you can use tap water and make it as clean as possible. But the first and the most important necessity to start with is having a supply of water that does not require filtration or purifying. And, it's very simple. You can buy a 55-gallon food grade plastic barrel, and they run from $25 to $50, depending on whether or not they're new or used, and depending on whether or not they have a spout at the bottom. Alternatively, you can also buy the 5 to 7-gallon plastic water containers, and you can get those for under $10, and they work just as well. Now, water for sanitation is a whole nother story. Most people don't consider this aspect, but disasters like hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, earthquakes, they create a huge mess of sewage, salt water near the coast, agricultural waste, and much more. That means that even a cut, abrasion, or laceration can become a life or limb-threatening disaster for you if medical care is limited. Proper sanitation means that we need to have water for washing, bathing, cleaning our teeth, cleaning our wounds, and other first aid needs. We also need water for helping to clean and take care of the toilet needs, whether that amounts to 5-gallon buckets, trash bags, or even a trench in your backyard. Water for food. If you're growing your own garden, and you should be, then of course you will need water for that. And in most urban areas, it's rare to find water supply that is gravity fed. That means that the power outage results in no water supply for your home, your garden, your greenhouse, etc. Now, how much water does it take to keep your food growing? Do you even know? One way to track this is to set up a gravity drip system with a PVC pipe, drip irrigation that's drill holes in it, and 35 or 55-gallon drums. It doesn't cost much to create this and saves a lot of water even when your water supply isn't restricted. Rainwater collection or other sources of gray water are also a good plan. Now, depending on where you live, although rainwater is a good plan for drinking water, it does require a specific filtration. And bear in mind that there's some states where rainwater collection is considered illegal. Now, the constitutionality of this kind of regulatory practice is outside of the scope of what I'm trying to tell you, but it is something that you might want to be aware of before you start building your own system for rainwater collection. Food preparation, disaster food preparation is something that you're going to need to keep you alive, and it should be thought of in at least two categories: short-term and long-term food supply. By short-term, you talking about time periods of 2 weeks or less. And what a lot of prepper type suppliers will try to tell you is that the concept of MREs, which are meals ready to eat, and freeze-dried food storage solutions are necessary and essential for your home food supply. That's not necessarily the case, because when it's true, while it's true that these have the calories to keep you alive for short-term disaster, which is less than a few weeks, they are not the kind of real food for the medium or the long haul. The only real advantage you get from these short-term food is portability and weight. transportability and weight, which means, your ability to carry them around. So if you have these ready to eat meals in a small supply that you can pack in your car in case you're mobile, or otherwise you're going to need to use real food for your home-based preparation and staying away from the prepackaged food entirely. Now, you can easily and inexpensively take care of all your food supplies. Start with extremely inexpensive foods like beans, red beans, lentils, and rice. The important thing is to store your long-term food in vacuum sealed containers that will allow your food supplies to keep for several years. Storing your food in this manner is a skill, but it's one that can be easily learned. You can actually go through our wonderful YouTube university, and I'm being facetious, but the point is there are many people on YouTube who can teach you how to do this if you don't already know, and it's a really simple process. And so I call it the YouTube university because of all the other my fellow scholars who are teaching people about things that we need to know. Finally, any long-term food storage plan is incomplete without the talking about gardening and backyard livestock such as chickens, rabbits, ducks, goats, etc. And in reference to the myths that are propagated by prepping supply stores, it does not mean just simply buying a package of seeds and storing them in the back of your pantry and thinking that you're all ready to grow your own food after society collapses. However, it does mean actively gardening right now, raising food to live on, and it takes work and experience. And you may have to fail a few years before you get gardening down pat. And I'm going to go back more into actively gardening in a minute, but let me just talk about something else that's really important, and that's backup power and electricity. Power is very useful for at least four very important things: heat, cooling, light, and communication. While you are thinking of power-related ways to take care of these necessities, bear in mind that most of them, there are non-power methods of taking care of these things as well. And they may not work as well, but they are good backups. So for heating and cooling, you want to start with the backup methodologies and that do not require power. And this way you always have something to fall back on if everything else fails. For example, non-power sources of heating would be outdoor barbecue grills, fireplaces, fire pits, and burn barrels. Examples of non-power sources for cooling food are root cellars, clay pots, evaporative cooling, natural water or cooling systems, such as creeks, streams, snow, etc., and easy, cheap variations of underground food storage, such as burying your 55-gallon drums. Then you want to work on setting up at least one power-related backup source, such as a generator, wind, solar, hydroelectric, etc. And, this subject alone is enough to fill a book. But a generator is, of course, the simplest way to start. So don't assume that it'll take care of all of your needs indefinitely, because there are many considerations, even with something as simple as a generator, such as fuel, gasoline, diesel, tri-fuel, propane, etc., the decibel level, you don't want it too loud, and fuel storage, and so forth. However, when it comes to light, the easiest way to begin with light, again, is the non-power backup solution. So you want to make sure that you have candles available, as well as more than one way to light them. Power-based lighting is not only necessary to function in the home at night, but also for the security outside and inside the home. And when I say more than one way to light the candles, I mean, don't depend only on your lighters. I know we're a lighter-obsessed generation. However, when the lighter finally gives out, and it will, I don't care how good it is, it's going to constantly need lighter fluid, and if you don't have any available, the one thing you can't beat, no matter what, are matches. So always keep the kitchen matches, the wooden ones, keep a few boxes of those around just in case, because they never fail. Okay. Communication. In addition to the aforementioned power sources, you want to consider charging your peripherals like your cell phone, laptop, radio, etc., with DC power sources that can be used and achieved via very common, inexpensive accessories such as small solar chargers, 300 to 1,000 watt inverters that run off car engines, cigarette lighters, or batteries. And health preparations. Okay, health. This is an extremely important and overlooked aspect of urban survival. And preparing for health situations, start with having a first aid kit, which should be available in the home and the car and wherever else that you may be. The amount of health care that can be taken care of using medicinal plants is phenomenal. And it's beyond equivalent to traditional medicine. For this reason, I feel that any real long-term medical prepping should involve the study and skill of herbal medicine. And here's where I want to go into some things that you should be growing, if not already obtaining for your future medicinal needs. And even now, you can start now. The aloe vera plant, it grows only under the sun, and it is well drained, dry or moist soil. So you have to have it with either dry or moist soil. The sap from aloe vera is extremely useful to speeding up healing and reducing the risk of infections. It's good for wounds, cuts, burns, eczema, and reducing inflammation. Apart from its external use on the skin, aloe vera is also taken internally in the treatment of ulcerative colitis, which is drinking the juice, chronic constipation, poor appetite, and digestive problems. Marshmallow, the plant that comes from the root from the plant that makes marshmallow, is good for the treatment of inflammations, irritations of the urinary and respiratory mucous membranes. It counters excess stomach acid, peptic ulceration, gastritis. And when applied to the body, it's good for bruises, sprains, aching muscles, insect bites, skin inflammations, and splinter. Chamomile is a sweet, crisp, fruity, and herbaceous fragrance, and it has been used medicinally for problems regarding the digestive system. It has soothing and calming properties in the area of aromatherapy, and it is used to end stress and aid in sleep. It's also a common herb for the treatment of aches like toothache, earache, shoulder pain, and neuralgia. The other thing you want to concern yourself with is sanitation. Sanitation is essential to health care. If the power and the water go out in your house, you have to plan to take care of human waste. A simple temporary solution is to use 5-gallon buckets of lime or sawdust or any green compost material, indoors, outdoors, and dig trenches for disposing of the human waste. And you want to keep liquids and solids separate, especially in the 5-gallon bucket solution. And lastly, defending your home and neighborhood security. One of the biggest misunderstandings in regards to home security is that a residential home is defensible. Unless you have designed your home specifically to be a fortress, you most likely do not have a home that you can defend from any committed attack. And especially if it's a small group of trained or experienced attackers. And this includes the concepts such as your home, where it's located, the terrain around it, the home itself, windows, doors, exits. You have to bear in mind there is a lot more to defense than just sending, the peripheral areas, just concentrating on those areas. And whether that means remaining hidden in what appears from the outside as an abandoned home, to having excellent advance notice of what your attackers might be planning and who they are, to social engineering and negotiation from a position of strength when you do encounter others. However, before you engage in a gun battle, there are many alternatives to gun battles that need to be considered in your security plan. And a gun battle, especially in a world with limited medical care, is the last thing that you want, even if you are certain that you have tactical superiority. If it does turn into a gun battle, however, it's important to remember that if someone actually makes it inside of your home, you have already lost a good part of the battle. Real home security actually starts with a radius of several hundred meters around your home. And for this reason, in an urban setting, you should consider neighborhood security, even more than home security. That means you want to get to know your neighbors and try to be as friendly as possible, because a neighborhood is much easier to secure than an individual home. Getting to know your neighbors on any level is very important, and it's the first step. It's also a helpful methodology for getting day-to-day security issues and updates right now without a post-disaster environment. Neighbors can help also act as lookouts, and if you see something, say something. And building this kind of awareness and trust relating to a possible security breach. Once you build this type of rapport with your neighbors, you can now pretty easily find a way to combat the problem. So I want to just end with these four things that you should keep as a general framework as to what to do in the event that there is a disaster in your area and you wish to survive it. Attitude. You cannot survive anything if your attitude is not where it needs to be. This means everything from how you deal with discomfort to whether you really want to survive or not. Your mind is the greatest tool and your greatest weapon. Attitude is the lubricant that allows it to work correctly. Adaptability. You must learn to become adaptable because there is no way to predict everything that can happen. One thing that I am grateful to my many years of being homeless and being on the streets is that I learned to adapt. It wasn't a comfortable or pleasant experience, but at least I know that if I were to have to endure it again in the case of some type of calamity or catastrophe, I can do it. Awareness, being aware of what is going on around you, gives you an immense advantage in every aspect of survival. It also requires much less energy to avoid a bad situation than to try to get out of one. And lastly, accountability. It's essential on every level of both teamwork and leadership. Being prepared for disaster is not a lone wolf activity, at least it won't be for long. And if you want to function well as a team or a community, you must be accountable for both your good and bad decisions. And you have to be honest and sincere in your dealings with everyone that you're working with. I guess finally and most importantly is that unless we run to the mercy of the Lord, we will be destroyed by Pharaoh, by Amalek, by Ishmael, by Gog and Magog. The only preparation for Armageddon, the final battle, is to prepare to meet God. Once we have had that encounter, our call up is to spread the good news of peace with God, to prepare the people to receive the victorious King when he returns on the side of suffering, when the silvery rain will be gone forever. Amen and amen.